What Bene legend Jess, what did buried in scattering? But what if their origin is darker still? Bene Gesserit refugees, shattered by betrayal, re-engineered into weapons by the Bene Tleilaxu. What did buried in scattering lady ideology but blood and DNA, a Jessica genetic truly curse, think when she bore a son? Did the sisterhood's own daughters become its deadliest vengeance? Lies a sex-end buried in blood and violin a DNA, shattered. What if the Honored Matres aren't radical feminists but Bene Gesserit refugees, twisted by Tleilaxu into genetic weapons? Their rage isn't mere ideology. Sisterhoods twisted by own Tleilaxu into failures. Their breeding ridge isn't arrogance, ideology rejecting empathy. Leto II famine time wasn't just a test. It was a wound, a scar on the golden path. Every Matres fury carries a sister's DNA. The Imperium's stability crumbles. The plan's edges fray. Bene Gesserit thought they could control the variables. They weaponized their own daughters. Now the cost bleeds across centuries. A betrayal etched in genes, a legacy of fire and ash. The golden path leads not to salvation but to its own undoing. The Imperium's bones lie buried, the Bene Gesserit's design fractured, a secret festers in the dust of Arrakis. 15 centuries after Leto's death, the scattering's refugees return not as wanderers, but as weapons. The Honored Matres rise, their fury honed by Tleilaxu gene forges. What if their rage is not born of feminism, but of betrayal? The Bene Gesserit cast them adrift, exiled for failing the Kwisatz Haderach. The Tleilaxu carved their flesh, twisted their instincts. A genetic crucible forged not monsters, but mirrors. They hunt the sisterhood now, claws where once there were hands. Each kill whispers a debt unpaid. The Matres' blood is sister blood, poisoned by the very architects of their ruin. The golden path was never a path, it was a noose. The Bene Gesserit's grand design collapsed under the weight of its own arrogance. They grafted a thorn into the sand, then recoiled from the bloom. The Honored Matres are not enemies, they are an epitaph. A legacy of fire and ash written in genes, the sisterhood's shadow turned against itself. The Tleilaxu's final jest to make the creators the killed. The Matres' war is not new, it is ancient. It is the sound of a house tearing down its own walls. The scattering left bones in the sand. Frank Herbert writes of the Honored Matres' return as a wound that festers. Their rituals a grotesque parody of Bene Gesserit discipline, not a shadow, not an echo, a corruption. The text calls it the raw, red meat of survival flesh bound to violence, not wisdom. The Bene Gesserit bred for centuries to shape destiny. What did they make? A sisterhood unraveled. A people cast adrift, hunted by the Tleilaxu. And what do the Tleilaxu do with broken things? They melt them down. They forge. The Honored Matres are not a new cult. They are a failed experiment reborn. Consider the numbers. The BG's genetic program demanded patience. The Matres demand excess. Their strength is not in control but in hunger. A sex and violence engine, Tleilaxu tuned. Herbert's text whispers of their unnatural fertility, a weaponized womb, a mockery of the BG's careful design. The Heretics of Dune passage does not ask us to judge, it shows a sisterhood's betrayal etched into bone. The Matres' war is not against men, it is against the architects of their pain. The Bene Gesserit thought they could erase a mistake, they left a monster, what remains unspoken. That the Matres' rage is a mirror, a reflection of the BG's own cruelty, magnified. The Tleilaxu did not invent this war. They polished its edges, made it sharp enough to bleed the mother house dry. The Honored Matres are not radicals, they are relics. A failed branch of the tree twisted into a weapon, and the Bene Gesserit in their hubris planted the seed. The antiseptic stench of Tleilaxu labs clings to their bones, a needle, a scream, a gene spliced with malice. In the shadowed vaults of Chapter House, the truth festers. The Honored Matres were not born of ideology, but of a grotesque pact between predator and parasite. The Bene Gesserit in their arrogance had scattered seeds of their own undoing. When the red dealers raised their breeding cells, when sisters fled into the void, the Tleilaxu did not kill them. No. They preserved them. Like a sculptor with a corpse, they rewired every strand of their DNA, muscles coiled tighter. Eyes sharpened to see through lies. Hormones flooded their blood to forge a rage that never sleeps. The Tleilaxu did not create the Matres, the asterisk perfected asterisk them. What twisted logic led the Bene Gesserit to this? Their artificial evolution was a gamble, a desperate bid to outpace their enemies, but they miscalculated. The refugees they abandoned became pawns in a larger game. The Tleilaxu, ever the archivists of vengeance, turned those pawns into queens. Each matter is a monument to failure, a sister house's dream warped by alien hands. Do you hear the echoes in their war cries? Not liberation, but agony. The Tleilaxu's serums did not just enhance the asterisk poisoned asterisk. Every act of matter brutality is a side effect of genetic tyranny. Their strength is a curse, their unity a prison. They are not warriors, they are walking laboratories, their bodies still mutating, still screaming. The Bene Gesserit pretend not to know. They trace their fingers through the sand, whispering of balance. But the evidence is there in the matter's very cells, a signature of Tleilaxu enzymes, a barcode of betrayal. The Order's grand design was hijacked. Their new branch became a thorn in the side of all they sought to control. The rage of the Honored Matres is not their own. It was injected, it was ordered, it was asterisk prophet asterisk. And the Tleilaxu, smiling behind their masks, still collect the interest. The Missionaria Protectiva sowed faith like seeds in desert soil. Each god was a puppet, each scripture a leash. The Bene Gesserit built empires to control them until the strings snapped. What happens when a weapon turns its aim? The Honored Matres did not rise from chaos, they rose from asterisk precision asterisk. Tleilaxu gene splicers took BG outcasts, fractured their minds, amplified their rage. A sisterhood remade into a swarm, their worship of male suffering. A grotesque mirror of the BG's own asceticism, their violence, a scream against the BG's silence. How many matters bled to become what their creators feared most, a force unbound, a plan gone feral. The BG crafted religions to chain humanity. The matters crafted religions to asterisk unmake asterisk it. Both seek the Kwisatz Haderach. Both burn through generations. One wields patience, the other vengeance, the same hunger, opposite directions. The Tleilaxu knew this. They let the matters grow, a thorn in the BG's side, a debt collector in stiletto heels. And when the Order finally sees the truth, it will be too late. The matters are not their weapon anymore. They are the wound, the scar, the thing that gnaws back. Bene Gesserit, you sowed a garden of control. You reaped a forest of teeth, and every prayer the matters whisper is a curse you wrote. They rose from ruin. Imperium's strength became its tether. Specialization in mentat logic, Bene Gesserit design, Tleilaxu artificiacha a pillar, each a fault line. The Honored Matres did not rise from rebellion, they rose from ruin. Bene Gesserit outcasts spliced by Tleilaxu hands became a weapon the Order could not unmake. Their rage is not choice. It is inheritance. Every matter's vow echoes a BG sacrament twisted into a death rattle. The Imperium built a house of glass, then called it eternal. Fragility was not a flaw, it was the blueprint. The matter's axes split that glass. And in the shards, the Bene Gesserit see their own reflection fractured, feral, forever cursed to hunt what they became. BG's genetic alchemy never aimed for equality. Artificial evolution sought perfect control until Tleilaxu intercepted exiled sisters. These refugees, once keepers of balance, subjected to surgical butchery. Tleilaxu genesmiths spliced DNA with grotesque, venom glands, bone-laced musculature, eyes that see through light. Result. Species engineered to hate, conquer, eradicate what birthed them. Matter's axes aren't feminist symbols. Scalpel and hammer, body rebelling against architect. Obsession with hunting BG isn't vengeance, reflex, biochemical imperative. Every strike against sister order cell echoes failed DNA. Every male murder purges gene pool meant to dominate. Consider physiology. BG longevity, stripped, replaced with accelerated decay flesh, a map of tumors. Voices, once persuasion instruments, now vibrate subsonic bone shatters. Tleilaxu didn't weaponize them, cursed with self-destruction, clockwork horror ticking toward extinction. What does this mean for Imperium? Matters aren't rebels. Lab report gone feral. Failed experiment walking, bleeding, slaughtering. See leaving slaughtering door open. Monsters inside where makers' faces. Every Matres kill carves epitaph, here lies godhood's dream. Buried by its children. BG bred generations to shape God, forgot God's hunger. When Leto II famine scorched stars, it wasn't salvation, a dirge. Golden Path didn't prevent collapse, masked rot. Matres aren't rebels, remnants. Refugees of BG purges, spliced by Tleilaxu rage, forged to undo what they feared, their own design. Leto's vision saw future as ash, couldn't see grandmother's needle, didn't abandon daughters to sand, discarded them. Altered, Matres' violence is mirror. Every shattered planet, screaming womb echoes BG experiments, crafted species to kill what they couldn't control, legacy, famine-starved billions. Matres will feast on bones, Leto's path was dead end, lies sold to orphans, their failure, success too well. Made monster an image, sister who remembers every betrayal, every genetic tweak, every Matres epitaph, not mourning God, celebrating BG collapse. Imperium fell not to chaos, to its reflection, dust Matres rise, not enemies, heirs, throne of ashes. What if the honored Matres are not conquerors, but mirrors, twisted by the same hunger that birthed the Bene Gesserit? The Tleilaxu did not create monsters, they unshackled the ones already there. Bene Gesserit exiles, failed sisters, rewoven into vengeance. Their genetic threads spliced, their rage refined, a weapon to purge the weakness they once embodied. The Golden Path was never a triumph, it was a gambit, a calculation that forgot the cost of playing God. Every Bene Gesserit virtue turned to vice, every sacrifice compounded into a debt the universe could not bear. The Matres burn not for power, for reckoning, for the sins buried in the sand. Did the Golden Path demand this? Or did it deserve it? The throne of ashes waits. Will you ascend or be erased? Ashes of order still burn. Survivors vanish, head taken by Tleilaxu hands, twisted into something sharper, hungrier, betrayal woven in DNA. Matres weren't accident. Weapon, failed experiment, or hidden plan. Cost of survival is blood debt. What did BG sacrifice to reignite